the question is, when I'm mentoring a CEO or executive, what's the first thing you usually focus on to help them grow as a leader? And one of the most important aspects for me as a leader was to make sure that I was communicating. Now, communication needs to be with all the stakeholders, and stakeholders can include your board, your employees. It can be, in my case, members or stockholders. I think it's important to have a relationship with vendors and civic leaders as well. That's one of the first boxes that I check when I'm mentoring, especially a new CEO. It's easy to go into the office and think that everything is going to run and run just as it has for maybe as much as 10, 15 years under the past CEO. But you as a new leader have to be out talking with all of these stakeholders and developing relationships. So that's one of the first boxes that I check. From your experience, what are a couple of simple habits that make the biggest difference for someone stepping into executive leadership? Well, I think first off is to identify what their role is and what their role is not. I remember as I took over my first CEO's position, it was important for me to remember that I was no longer an operations manager, and I had to build a relationship with my operations manager that he started trusting me. And I was more than happy to allow him to make all the pertinent decisions, unless there was going to be a huge financial impact. I really didn't want a whole lot of involvement with. So I think identifying your role, unfortunately, it seems like at times a new CEO will have a tendency to revert back to their old role. And I think that getting in the weeds way too much with your old role does not allow you to grow into your new role. You're a CEO for a reason. And that reason is you have to start thinking much more strategically and less day to day. Next question is, can you share the time when you coached a leader through a tough decision and how you helped them work through it? I certainly can. I will never forget, as a CEO, I had my brand new CFO come to me and show me where there had been a mistake made. And this mistake had been going on for about 10 years, and it was on pension payments. As you can imagine, a 10-year mistake. Some employees we were overpaying on their pension, and some of them we were underpaying. Now, it may only been a few dollars, but trying to go back through the records and this was going to be a nightmare, to say the least, and very, very costly for an accounting firm to come in and do all this work. So I thought and I thought and I thought, and to make a long story short, the CFO and I had another meeting. We sat down, we discussed it, and we decided we were just going to take it directly back to the employee group. We were going to be open and honest about the mistake that had been made. And in my discussion with the employee group, I told them, I said, I want to be fair with you guys, but I expect you guys to be fair with us. If there is an overpayment, we're going to want that money back. And if there was an underpayment, we'll be more than happy to make those. After I exited the room, the employee group met in private for about 20 minutes, and they come back out and said, let's correct the mistake today. Going forward, everything will be right, and let's let bygones be bygones. And I was very proud of how we handled that, and very proud of my employee group. And I think a lot of that goes back to the relationship that I had with my employees. Next question is, what advice do you give leaders who struggle with balancing their day-to-day operations and their long-term vision? Well, I think that's one of the easiest questions I've ever been asked, because the day-to-day operations, that's not your role anymore. Day to day, you better have somebody who is making those decisions for you and have the relationship with them that you can sit down, you can talk through how their decisions are affecting the long range strategy of the organization and our long range vision. And you kind of work together, and I think the two can be married very easily. The last question is, if you could give one piece of no nonsense advice to a new CEO today, what would it be? I will never forget, as I took over as an operations manager, I got a piece of advice from a guy who was, in my mind, one of the most intelligent people I ever knew, and yet he was functionally illiterate. He gave me the piece of advice: never forget where you come from. And that was always so very important to me, to remember where I come from, remember how I felt in the role as an employee, and try to make all judgments going forward. What is not only best for the company, but what is best for the employee as well. And there's always a happy medium in there somewhere. There are times when you may have to give a little bit, but don't be afraid to take when you need to. So that's kind of my no nonsense approach. I think that's a principle that, especially here in the Midwest, we've all lived by for a lot of years. So if you have an opportunity to have those cases that come along that are what you perceive to be very, very difficult, feel free to give me a call. Schedule an appointment. There are probably very few scenarios that I haven't lived through myself over the past 40 years. And I'm more than happy to share my experience and how it worked out for me.